level up. I got to watch it for that ass, I'ma burn it up. Gotta check the rules and know that if you fair foul, ref blow the whistle, coach throw the towel. We can do this on the field or outside the line. It's the man now with O, now we going live.
And what is up, everybody? Michael Buckasher here with the Mike and Mike Man Hour, live, raw, and uncut sports talk. Got a special guest for you guys tonight. Before we get too carried away, make sure you are liking our Facebook page and sharing this live feed as well. We're still giving away that $100 Amazon gift card once we hit the 500 likes mark, and also 1,000 and 1,500 and 2,000 likes. Guys, we're giving away up to 5,000 likes, so many chances to win that $100 Amazon gift card. So be sure to like, comment, and subscribe to our Facebook page and YouTube channel as well. What is up, Mike Reeves? Yes, we do have Green Bay Greg in the house, but my man, Green Bay Greg, what is up, brother? What is up? What is up? What is up?
How you doing, buddy? What's going on, Buck?
Man, it is going.
Glad to be here. Great to be here.
Dude, you have absolutely 100 sold me on the Green Bay Packers receiving core from what you said in previous shows when we had you on. But now that who is it? Adams that's sitting out, right? No, who is sitting out? Funches, that's right. Funches. You guys have me a little bit worried now, Mike, or Green Bay Greg.
Yeah, no, we just signed that jackwagon, and he decides to sit out. You know, right when Aaron Rodgers, see the best you can get out of Aaron Rodgers is when he's got a chip on his shoulder and Funches sits out. You're going to be asking a lot of Devontae Adams this year, which is what my fantasy team is hoping for.
Well, speaking of fantasies, I heard you got to live a little bit of fantasy this weekend. Tell the people about it, man. What did you do?
Yeah, I actually missed Twist this week, but what with my girlfriend and her kids ziplining and adventure climbing in southern Minnesota, and it was a great time because it was, like I said, southern Minnesota. We went the first part of the morning was ziplining, and you start off on the basic, introductory courses, and it's a couple, 30, 50 feet off the ground, and then you get to the one where it's 175 feet off the ground. It's going, and it's awesome because I really don't have a fear of heights. So it made for a lot of fun. And when you're with 13 and 14-year-old boys, and, they're a little apprehensive, but the cool part about it is they want to see me do everything. So I'm on the adventure wall, and I'm at the highest point, and they're like, jump, rappel. And I'm like, okay, I'm not worried, but the only thing saving me is my ability to retain the information that the carabiner guide taught me an hour earlier. Did I hook it up correctly?
That is, I have always loved zip lining and stuff like that, but then you look at those carabiner hooks, you're always like made in China, right? You're like, man, I am legitimately risking my life for something that's made in China for 10 cents. It just I never wrapped my head around why we do shit like that. Absolutely crazy, right? But
exactly. Yeah, exactly. It's funny because you're up there by yourself. You're like, did I really pay attention to him? All the cockiness aside, was I paying attention to him right? Did I hook these up correctly? Because if not, I'm falling in that pile of mulch.
Right. So, guys, Greg is from the Green Bay Greg show, as well as Twist as well. So, Greg, tell the people a little bit about Twist and what you guys are all about over there.
Great. Yeah. So at Twist, it's me, Mike, and Matt. And it's essentially a show. The twist of the show, it's the weekend sports talk, but the twist of it is you got two diehard Minnesota Viking fans and myself, the Packer fan, that are kind of really just bantering with each other back and forth, not only about, during football seasons, obviously Packer Vikings, but throughout the whole year, we find that we have a lot of differences in our sports talk. I'm, a Bucks fan. Mike and Matt kind of lean more towards LeBron and the Lakers. So we kind of just carried on our rivalry to other sports as well. So we're the best of friends, but it makes for great banter on the show. And Mike is in my face for 59 minutes of the 1 hour of the show, and Matt usually tries to play peacemaker until I start ripping on Cousins, and then it's 2-on-1.
Well, Cousins is not a very good quarterback, but he is better than Jameis Winston because he doesn't have a starting job, right, Brandon Coombs? But nonetheless, you brought up a very interesting point there. So you're telling me that Matt Benz and Mike Reeves are both Laker fans, or are they LeBron James fans?
No, Mike Reeves more than anything, and I hope he's listening. because Mike Reeves is a fan of two NBA teams. It's the Minnesota Timberwolves and any team that LeBron James happens to be playing for. Mike Reeves, if Mike Reeves could have LeBron James' kid, I'm sure he would. Those two guys actually went to Target Center this past year and watched Bronny James, LeBron's kid, play in a high school game, and I still make fun of him for it to this day.
Hey, I got nothing about seeing high school kids play because I've seen Romeo play here in Louisville, Kentucky, the Louisville, Kentucky area. And then we also have another kid that's up and coming that you guys are going to hear about a lot coming up here, and his name is Shane Cole. He is a Silver Creek kid, and he is getting looks from IU. I believe he got offered from IU, Purdue, Louisville, and I want to say Wisconsin or Minnesota. I'm not 100% sure, and also he's getting looks at Kentucky as well. So he has legitimate offers here from a small town school. So it is cool. It is cool. So Greg, I'm glad you are here, guys. Mike LeBlanc is a little MIA.
I'm thinking that LeBron would be there.
Say that again.
I was going to say, I think that they went because they thought LeBron might be there.
Oh, that's mean. Do you remember that movie? It was like a 1980s movie. It was the Boston Celtics fans when they like tied up like their good luck mascot or something like that and kept him in his apartment. I cannot think of the movie to save my life right now, but I could see Mike Reeves and Matt both tying LeBron James up and throwing him in his trunk and keeping him in his house for like a month or something just to hang out with him.
Yeah, I think that was with Robert. I think that was with Robert De Niro. I think it was called The Fan.
Was it called The Fan? Yeah, it was from like the 80s. What it was. It's an older movie. So, but it is about Boston Celtics. Yeah. I don't remember the gist of it, but I just know that they stole the fan or something just like that. Mike Reeves says no. We love Bronny, like the paper towels Bronny, or like the actual Bronny James himself. But nonetheless, guys, we do have a pretty good show lined up. Like I said here, Mike LeBlanc won't be here tonight. He has some family issues to take care of. Hopefully we see him back very, very soon. But I'm going to crescent Greg here to the show with a little bit of What the segment right here after the break. And then we're going to talk a little Kyler Murray, Baker Mayfield, and some more college football. Green Bay Greg being up at the Big Ten area, we got a lot of football to talk about. So, guys, we're going to take a quick little break here, and right after the break, we're going to bring you some What the. Be right back right after this. Mike and Mike Man Hour. Here, guys. Michael Buckheiser with my man Green Bay Greg tonight. Still getting away that $100 Amazon gift card. All you gotta do is like the Facebook page and share it with a couple friends to get some more entries. And it is simple as that, Greg. Have you liked the Facebook page?
Absolutely.
So you are entered in to win a $100 Amazon gift card. That easy. That freaking easy, man. But Mike, I keep calling you Mike. I'm sorry about that, Greg. I'm really, really sorry about that. I miss Mike a lot tonight. He's making me sad. But we are going to do a segment that I think is probably one of our best segments out there. It was stolen by a different show, intro music and everything. But guys, this is totally my intro music. I made it myself. So if you hear it anywhere else, it was here on the Mike and Mike Man Hour first, guys. So just keep that in mind. But let's go ahead and get it started, Greg, with the What Does. And my first What the of the night is going to go out to the Indiana High School Athletic Association. Yes, I called you guys out by name because you guys are complete idiots. Here in the local area, we had one positive case of COVID-19 on a football team. Let me state again. We had one positive case, and you guys want to shut down the entire state football. Why? This is absolutely asinine. Our kids are getting tested once a week. I get tested myself. We are all wearing our masks. We are standing on your stupid-ass dots. Like, you guys need to pull your head out of your asses. This is absolutely ridiculous. Greg, I cannot take it. Cannot take it one bit. Indiana High School Athletic Association, pull your head out of your asses. Let the kids play. Let the kids play.
All right, got it. All right, my first, a little aggressive there to start with. My first what the is Damian Lillard gets himself into the playoffs as the 8th seed and starts shooting off his mouth about all the previous stars that he's knocked out in previous playoffs. Dude, you're the 8th seed. You just barely got in. You've played a great bubble, 8 games this year, but now you're going against LeBron, AD, Kuzma, and the boys with the Lakers. Dude, if you'd have done this all year, you wouldn't have had to wait until the last game of the bubble season to make it to the playoffs. Shut your mouth and, be happy you made it in, because Phoenix went 8-0 and they didn't make it in, so you got lucky. And now just shut your mouth and continue to play like you do, and people will start giving you some hype next year.
Facts. And my next what the of the night, Greg, is going to start or finish where you started. Damian Lillard. Guys, during this whole bubble quarantine crap that they have been in, he released his second EP that he has been in the bubble. I believe his rap name is Dame Dollar. Dollar, not even dollar. Dollar. He's trying to be like trade dollar signs or whatever that guy's name is. Absolutely ridiculous. Dame, if you were more focused on actually playing basketball, getting yourself better, we might speak to you in the same breath as LeBron James, KD, maybe even Kyrie Irving. I mean, the best that you have finished in the MVP race is 4th. You have never won a scoring title. You have never won a championship. I don't think you've even won a conference championship. If you want to be talked about, Dame, stop dropping EPs and drop some real baskets. Step up your game, son. Dame Lillard, ultimate what the of the night.
Kyle Kuzma. For God's sakes, Kyle Kuzma, you hit a game-winning shot last week in a useless game that the Lakers didn't need, but you hit the shot. Good for you. They won 124-121. Great defense, Kyle. And then in the post-game interview, you're pumping your chest, you're smacking your chest, talking about how you're the next coming, and about how you would have shot the ball even if Jesus Christ himself would have been guarding you. You try to tell me Jesus Christ can't defend a jump shot? For the love of God, you got to know your role, buddy. Start watching game film from Chris Bosh and Kevin Love from years past, because you are the third wheel in that trifecta. Sit back, know your role, and speak when spoken to. You're sitting at the kiddie table there, buddy. It's AD, it's LeBron, and then when they want you to pick up some scraps, you'll get your fill, Kyle. But sit down until then.
My next what the of the night is going to stay in the COVID-19 in the NBA and NHL. Ed Brom, I see your comment there, and I would love to move to Wisconsin. We actually have kids flocking to Iowa right now to play football because Iowa's still playing football. Kentucky's still playing football, and Ohio. So, come on. But my next what the of the night is all these isolation bubbles that all these teams and players are in. I'm talking about the NBA and NHL. Guys, these guys are tested twice a week. I do believe they are isolated from everybody. They have little monitors on their wrists that if they get within six feet of each other, they like buzz or something. There is nobody coming in and out unless they're being quarantined for at least 10 days. Why are you guys still wearing masks? I am really very confused by that. If you guys are all being tested and safe and isolated from everybody and you're coming out negative, why do you need to wear a mask? That is absolutely asinine. Do you remember last time when we did what the and the state of Wisconsin is making the mayors and shit wear masks on Zoom calls? You guys are overkilling everything, making this blowing this COVID thing out of proportion to where it's scaring my wife, and quite frankly, you're starting to piss me off. When you piss my wife off, you piss me off, and it's going to be bad for you guys in the end. Stop this shit. Masks are not necessary in the bubble if you're being tested and you're negative. Hello? You don't have it. Why not spread it? It doesn't make sense.
All right, thanks, Buck. I'm going to take the COVID baton from you. Major League Baseball just came out and they are now looking into the options of having their playoffs in a bubble format. In 3 different cities, they're looking at doing a bubble format for the playoffs. Major League Baseball, for the love of God, do you guys should get memos that like a month later than everyone else? It's like hockey, basketball, the WNBA, they're all got these plans in place, and Major League Baseball, like finally, they're like, Major League Baseball is like that 70-year-old lady that gets their mail once a month, and they're looking back and it's like, oh shit, I should have opened this 2 weeks ago, 3 weeks ago. You guys should have been thinking about this from the start. Now all of a sudden the bubble concept is a good idea? Really, baseball? You know what? You're lucky that you're still going 2.5, 3 weeks in. Just cross your fingers. Just do what you're doing. Let the Miami situation, the St. Louis situation deal with themselves. They're going to work themselves out. Just get the playoffs. Get the damn season over with. Give your World Series champion their championship ring. Hopefully it's either the Dodgers or the Yankees, so no one's bitching about anything. We can just get it over with. Start fresh next year. But for the love of God, don't start bringing in different ideas that you should have been doing 2 months ago.
What the of the night, Green Bay Greg? What is up? You're getting shout-outs from Twist out there. What is up, Twist Nation, guys? Thank you for tuning in to the Mike and Mike Man Hour. My final what the of the night is going to go out to Matt Rule, Carolina Panthers head coach. He had put in for a leave of absence to go see his kids first day of school. Yes, I get it. We're all family men. We want to see our kids go off to school, yada, yada, yada. Bro, you are a first-year head coach on a new team. First time in the NFL, it doesn't work like that. Maybe in college, not in the NFL. You are there to work 8 to 5, actually probably 8 to 8, more like it. You do not get to take time off, especially when there's no preseason games, when there has been no training camp. You realize the first NFL games in 24 days, and you're asking for time off? This is why the Carolina Panthers are going to go 3-13. This season, not because of Christian McCaffrey, not because of Teddy Bridgewater, because of Matt Rule, their head coach, taking time off to spend time with his kids. If you want to be an NFL head coach, get prepared for a divorce, man. That's just the way it is. Simple as that, bro. And that is going to be
a little shout out to the RTS Sports.
Go ahead.
You'll give me my last one?
Oh, go for it. I forgot it, man. Go ahead. My bad.
Yeah, we got Brandon Combs calling Jameis Winston a top 10 quarterback. Jameis Winston isn't even a top 10 quarterback in the NFC East. He's not even a top 2 quarterback in his own team. And you're calling him a top 10 quarterback? Jameis Winston is getting way too much love for the poor man's Brett Favre. It's one thing to be Brett Favre and throw 30 interceptions and 30 touchdowns in a season. He actually wins games when he was doing that back in the 90s. But for the love of God, Jameis Winston needs to sit with a clipboard, a baseball hat on backwards, and sit there and watch Drew Brees and the rest of the boys and learn how winning is done. Because if you're going to throw 30 interceptions in a year, and you're going to throw 30 touchdowns in a year, and you're going to throw for 5,000 yards, that's great. But you also have to learn how to win games if you're going to do that. That's all I got.
And guys, that's going to be it for What Does of the Night. Greg, how did you like your first segment of What the, man? I think you kind of enjoyed it.
I enjoyed it a lot, but you can tell that I was never like a singer-songwriter because I was always either too early or too late and you even coached me on that before. But
Ah,
I love the segment though.
it is all good. So the one thing that I question, in your whole what the segment there is that the whole MLB bubble situation. I spoke on this, I believe it was last Thursday's show, that the NCAA is considering a bubble for the 2021 season, not the spring season, but the fall 21 season. Talk about being late to the party. NCAA football, you guys are late to the party 100%. Like that's absolutely ridiculous that they're not even considering that like that now, right?
Yeah, it's almost like what these sports commissioners and executives are doing. It's kind of like what they do when they come out with a new movie and they have a test audience come in and watch the movie and then critique it and then they change the ending or the beginning based on that. It's almost like they're doing this with the public. Let's throw out this idea, see what their response is, and then we'll go from there. It's too late, guys. Look at what's working. What's working is what with what the NBA is doing, what the WNBA is doing, what hockey is doing.
Right.
If you can't match that, well then cross your fingers and hope that whatever you do is working or works.
And to
because
be totally honest, it would be easy for college sports to do a bubble situation. Like I know at Kansas State University out there in Manhattan, Kansas. Shout out to my boys on there in purple and silver. We have dorm rooms all over campus. Easily can house a football team, can easily house a volleyball team, can easily house a basketball team. I mean, they're all doing virtual classes anyways. Those dorm rooms are sitting empty as far as the Big 12 goes. Now I know in the Big 10 here at IU, they said no football, but classes are still in session. It's zero sense to me, but I digress on that. But like, if you want an ideal situation for a bubble, NCAA has the perfect opportunity. They already have room storage on campus. They have, it doesn't make any sense to me why they aren't playing. To be honest with you, it makes zero sense at all.
No, I agree. And from the Big Ten standpoint, they're talking about possibly doing what they're calling spring football, but it would be starting in January. And they're already talking about the 3 different schools that could facilitate a dome. It's Indiana, Minnesota has technically a dome. Granted the Vikings play there, so it's not the Gopher Stadium. And then there's one other one I can't think of it off the top of my head. But the bottom line is, Detroit. So they're already talking about doing that, in a January when it's just way too cold to play. But it's like, what? You're not addressing the real issue, which is you're addressing the weather. You're not addressing COVID. So is it about COVID or is it about the weather? They're mixing up this whole thing. And it's like, but I agree with you. If you really want to do a bubble type situation, you have the dorm rooms to do it. Like you said, 75% of these kids are going to be doing school from home anyway. So you're not going to be overcrowded in dorms. And if it is about school with what they're saying, then these kids can then go to classes with each other. But
yeah, we are going to get into that right after this break here, Greg. So don't spoil it too much here. Don't spoil it too much. But guys, we're going to take a quick little break here, and on the other side of the break, we're going to talk some college football and the whole COVID situation, and we're also going to talk Baker Mayfield and Kyler Murray and some kidnapping. On the other side of the break, guys, Mike and Mike Man Hour, live, raw, uncut sports talk. Be right back. Welcome back to the Mike and Mike Man Hour, guys. Here, Michael Buckheist with a special guest, Green Bay Greg from the Green Bay Greg Show and Twist as well. Greg, thank you for joining me, man. As I got a sneeze coming on, so take it away for a second. Tell them about Twist.
Not a problem. Thanks for having me on. Yeah, Twist. Just get into we got Twist on that. Well, actually, on the RTF Sports Network, we take over the 2 o'clock Eastern, 1 o'clock Central time slot. So like I tell people all the time, whether it's Twist, Mike on the Mic, Benzi's Bitter, Green Bay Greg, Monday through Friday, 2 o'clock Eastern, 1 o'clock Central, what I'm telling people is go out for a late lunch, get back from work, then just log into the RTF Sports Network for the next hour, slack off at work, and watch one of our shows.
And I do not condone slacking off because I am a boss. So if you slack off, but I guess if you are listening to rtfsportsnetwork.com, it's totally okay. So I will whitelist that website, guys, at the website. So Mike and Mike Man Hour is on RTF Sports Network noon East Coast time, Monday through Friday. We also stream live on YouTube and Facebook, 10 p.m. East Coast time as well. We're also giving away that $100 Amazon gift card once we hit that 500 likes. We are also starting tomorrow. We are doing a giveaway. So if you are on our YouTube page, you can give us hashtag ManHour, and we will be giving away a ball cap. So you guys can head over to the Mike and Mike Man Hour, check out the merch, and check out that cap. I mean, it's a pretty nice little cap. I got mine in the mail today. I meant to wear it, but I had my Royals trump all like at this time of year. So, Greg, as we were alluding to before the break, COVID is obviously running the world, right? I mean, it is shutting down high school football. It lost most of our jobs for 3 or 4 months, right? You know, I mean, I think most of us are back at work now in some form or the other. But Oklahoma State sent their kids home for a break because they didn't know if they were going to come back for the 2020 season or not. Once upon back from the break, I believe it was 9 kids tested positive for COVID-19, causing Oklahoma State to shut down practices, I believe, for the whole week. So, Greg, I'm going to ask you this question. You are a Big Ten guy. I believe you're a Wisconsin fan, right? You're a Badger?
Absolutely.
So,
yep.
What does this mean for the Big 12? Like, do they have to follow suit now with the Pac-12 and Big Ten and cancel the season, or are they just going to let the tide roll? What are your thoughts?
I think what the Big 12 is doing is exactly what the Big Ten and Pac-12 should have done. And before I get into that, my dad's watching this show right now, who's a football coach. My dad's been coaching football in Wisconsin for 45 years, does it at my alma mater, private school, about 20 minutes west of Milwaukee, and they're still playing this year. So if you're an aspiring high school football player and you won't have aspirations to play in college, give me a call, hook me up. I'll get you in contact with my dad. We'll recruit your ass right into Waukesha Catholic Memorial. Yeah, but no, I think that what the Big 12 is doing is waiting. They're waiting to the last possible minute. The Pac-12 and the Big 10 had no reason to make an announcement last week. They could have still done practices. They still could have done all the same things that the SEC, the ACC, and the Big 12 are doing. And to Oklahoma State's credit, maybe let's just say it's 9 kids and they got it however reason. You and I can speculate for the next 6 hours and speculate how 9 kids got it all at once. Bottom line is they shut down practice for a week, test everyone. Let's say they get everyone cleared. Everyone gets the clean bill of health, and you just start practicing again. That's exactly what the Big Ten and Pac-12 should have done, is because they're not playing games until the end of September anyway. So why is it the second full week in August and we're making decisions for 6 weeks out? So I credit the Big 12 for, yes, putting a stop to it temporarily and then seeing where it's at. If your first game is on September 26th, you don't have to make a decision on whether or not to play until September 25th. You know, just play along and just see how things are going. There's no need to, make these rash decisions that far in advance. So I don't think that what the Big 12 is doing is all that bad.
Yeah, you are 100% correct. I mean, like think about it just like this. Let's say the Big 12 wasn't having football this upcoming season. Those 9 kids would have never been tested whatsoever. Those 9 kids would have went to class or went to their hood parties or gone to the strip club or the bar or wherever they're going on the weekends, and they would have spreaded it, right? Therefore, we would have had another spike in cases because of those, COVID's so dangerous and so easy to catch. Those 9 kids could have easily spread to the other nine kids. And what is 9 times 9, Greg? Is that 81?
81.
So therefore now 81 kids have it. Those 81 kids spread it to 9 other kids. I'm not very good at math, but that's, almost 300, 400 more kids, right? So if if the Big 12 did not have football, these 9 kids wouldn't have been tested. Therefore, playing college sports is being safer than not playing sports at all. Do I need to repeat that? Playing sports prevented these kids from spreading it to other players. How many Big Ten players have been tested positive? Oh, we don't know because we're not doing tests because we're not playing football. They are in their dorm rooms right now, spreading it to everybody on the floor. Everybody on that floor spreading it to people on the other floors. I mean, college sports are safer right now than not playing. I mean, flat out honest, Greg. Flat out honest.
Yeah, and, I think the other problem is going to start coming up here when, all you keep hearing about is if you start to show symptoms, they tell you got to get tested. And now what's happening? You got to wait 5, 7, sometimes up to 10 days to get your results. But what are they telling you to do? They're telling you to isolate yourself, quarantine yourself for those 5, 7, 10 days. So what are people going to do who have to live lives? We're past April and May where people are just enjoying quarantine.
Right.
People are getting back to their work. So what are they going to do? They're going to suck it up and hide their symptoms for a couple of days, not get tested, pretend they don't have it, and probably pass it on to other people because we are so paranoid driven that nobody wants to now come out and say, well, I got tested on Monday, and now the doctor's telling me I might not get my test back until Sunday or the following Monday, so I can't do anything all week. Like I said, we're past May when that was the cute thing to do. Right. People are just going to hide their symptoms and go on with their lives. And to your credit, what you were saying, they're going to be doing this in dorm rooms where they're around dozens of other people every waking moment. You can't isolate in dorms.
Yeah, I mean, and so me being a high school coach myself, like, we have a lot of coaches on our staff that are a part of teachers and board members and like high school boards like as well, and they like I say they as a loosely term, that they as the board members and like other people on the inside are saying like schools like the Big 12 and the SEC and ACC are saying that they are having football in 2020 season because once that October 3rd date rolls around, September 3rd date rolls around and the enrollments are all calculated for those schools, then they'll cancel sports. Because if they cancel sports now, you're going to have those 5-star recruits transfer to the Big 12, transfer to the ACC, and they lose enrollment numbers in the end. Supposedly, that is why Indiana had football for the last 2 weeks, was because they want to get those enrollment numbers up, because they saw people in Kentucky jumping ship over to Tennessee, over to Ohio to play sports. So therefore, their enrollments are way down, and they're not going to get federal aid for their schools, because you get like $6,000 per kid or something like that. It's something ridiculous. But in the end, like, COVID is like so irritating, like you don't know who to believe anymore, who to trust, because the Big 12 and the Big 10 both looked at the same exact studies, the same exact data. The Big 10 said, "Oh, this is dangerous. This is going to kill everybody." But then the Big 12's like, we're fine. So like, how can you have two sides there? Same exact study. It's dangerous. It's going to kill you. You are fine. Who do you believe, Greg?
Yeah. Yeah, and the thing is too is this is never going to come. I mean, the toothpaste is already out of the tube with recruiting. Every recruiter from the SEC, the Big 12, and the ACC is going to go to these 3, 4, 5-star recruits from the Midwest and from the West Coast and tell these kids, you want to take your chances and play for a school that's willing to shut down their entire season because a couple of kids might get the sniffles, and they're going to downplay COVID and upplay, them shutting it down. So now this is devastating to recruiting in the Big Ten and the Pac-12 because they'll never get this back. They will now be seen as the league ready to pull the plug before anyone else did. So if you're the fan of a high school kid who's a 4 or 5 star recruit, and you were a fan of a Big Ten school or a Pac-12 school, and you go there, good luck, because they're going to the Pac-12. I'm sorry, they're going to the SEC, the ACC, or the Big 12 because right now those schools are planning on playing. These kids don't want to sit out because they might get a chest cold that might last them 5 or 6 days. Because and I'm not saying, I'm not a doctor. I'm not saying that's the case. I'm saying that's what the perception is, and that's all that matters to an 18-year-old kid.
Yeah, I remember when the first COVID thing started to happen and kind of affect the USA, like early March. We were all at work looking up the symptoms for it, and like, oh, so you have the allergies or a cold. Like, how do I I'll be perfectly fine, and then it starts to ramp up, blowing out proportion. Oh, we're shutting this down, and then they say masks don't work, and now all of a sudden masks work, and you have to wear them all the time. Absolutely crazy, absolutely asinine. I hope for the sake of the Big 12, because I am a Big 12 fan. I played in the Big 12 as well when we actually had 12 teams, but I digress on that. Do you think the Big 12 is going to start stealing recruits from the Big 10 again? Because they aren't playing, and you want to play. Are they going to take recruits from Wisconsin and from Ohio State?
If they were smart, they would. And I think, to be honest with you, I think they already are. And I think that right now that I honestly think they are. And I think that guys like Justin Fields, quarterback from Ohio State, who's got 250,000 signatures on a petition, with a Let Us Play petition, I think that what he's trying to say is, hey, I don't want to go to another school, but if I have to, I will. Because right now you have he's listed as the second or third quarterback off draft boards.
Right.
Come next April or May, whenever they have to do the draft. If I was in the Big 12, I would already be on the phone with people like my dad and all these other coaches in Big 10 areas of the Midwest saying, hey, before these kids start committing, get them to our school. Then go into the Wisconsins and the Minnesotas and the Ohio States and the Michigans and saying to these guys who are right now on campus with their thumb up their butt, saying, hey, you want to play football this year? Put your transfer papers in, get in the portal, and get over to Iowa State. Get over to Oklahoma. Get over to us and play with us. And I think that's what they should be doing that right now.
I wonder if players from Ohio State and Penn State want to transfer out this year and play, because they still have a couple months technically till the season starts. Because I don't think the SEC starts until September 29th. I think their first game was. I mean, could they in theory transfer schools still play this year since their school technically isn't offering football anymore? I mean, that voids the whole transfer rule thing, right? So I mean, Justin Fields could in theory go to Alabama and start for Alabama this year, right?
Here's the funny thing about that. That's the one thing that I've learned, in following sports is a lot of this just has to do with scholarship players.
Right.
So now you start talking about the money in the SEC and the ACC and the Big 12, and let's say you're Justin Fields and you're in your last year. You want one more year to, show your talents to the NFL. And let's say now that, okay, so Alabama can't offer you a scholarship. But you sure as heck could walk on there. Maybe mom and dad don't have the money, but maybe some card dealer from Alabama who's got some money, or LSU, all of a sudden he's flipping his tuition, and he's a walk-on there now. I don't think there's as many restrictions as for walk-ons. So now you get past this whole transfer portal, and I don't exactly know how this works, but I do know that there's a lot less restrictions when you're paying your own way. And when there's billions they said that last year the SEC brought in $2 billion in their TV contract to their member institutions.
Right.
So if you have that much money in a TV contract, you have that kind of money in boosters. And the Justin Fields of the world are going to have their tuition paid for. And all of a sudden, your Ohio State quarterback is now the quarterback for either LSU or Alabama. And the Ohio State is in a shell of what they were 3 years from now, because other players are now doing that too.
Yeah, I mean the only thing I question is why hasn't anybody jumped ship yet? So there has to be some type of red tape somewhere where they want to like entertain the idea, but they haven't yet. So I'm kind of curious of like what the red tape is. I'm gonna have to reach out to some college coaches and see if it's even possible. Or, even when you transfer divisions, there's no sit-out school whatsoever. So Justin Fields could go Division II, absolutely tear it up and down, right? And would have to sit out a year and still get tape on him. So I'm just kind of intrigued. But nonetheless, Oklahoma State, Ohio State. Oklahoma State shuts down practice because of the COVID. Hopefully it doesn't run wild in the Big 12 and ultimately cancel their season, because they haven't even set a start date yet for the Big 12 season. So moving on here, we are going to transfer gears to NFL and to Baker Mayfield. Baker Mayfield says that he was, quote, off of his game last year, and he is focused and ready to win a lot of football games because he is healthy and ready to win. Greg, buy or sell Baker Mayfield in the Cleveland Browns upcoming season?
I'm gonna buy the Cleveland Browns, and you know what? I'm gonna buy Baker too, just because being, I'm in the middle of Minnesota, so I got to watch Stefanski last year coach Kirk Cousins. Now he's the head coach of Cleveland. I think that he can do some amazing things with Baker Mayfield and with the weapons that Baker Mayfield has. I think now when you say buy, I'm thinking that they're going to be going into weeks 14, 15, 16, and 17, those last games of the season, with a chance to make the playoffs. I think that best case scenario, they're 10-6, maybe a 9-7 team, and I think that Baker Mayfield is going to be a top 10 quarterback. I don't think he's going to be a top 5 quarterback, but I do think this is going to be a bounce back year because he's got guys like Landry and Odell that are really going to want. I mean, they're looking at long-term contracts too. So it's beneficial to everyone, and I think that Stefanski can really work with him the way he did with Cousins, because Baker Mayfield is a lot younger, a lot more agile, and he's a lot more reckless than Kirk Cousins is. And sometimes offensive coordinators really enjoy that reckless attitude. Kirk Cousins was just afraid to make mistakes. So there's throws that he could have made, that he should have made, that he didn't make. Baker Mayfield's not afraid to make those throws. He's got a little bit of Brett Favre in him. So, and I think that that's going to benefit him because you have receivers. You have receivers that are going to go out and get the ball. You have Odell Beckham Jr., who's got arms longer than, he's got a wingspan longer than mine, and I'm 6'4". So he can go after some balls that Baker's going to throw up there. But so as far as buying, I buy the Cleveland Browns. Because I don't think that Pittsburgh's going to be that great this year. So I'm buying Cleveland. I'm buying Baker.
Yeah, I would agree everything that you said. If that coach was entering in his second year into the Cleveland Browns. But the fact is, Baker Mayfield is entering, his third year into the NFL, his third head coach, his third offensive coordinator, and I believe his second general manager. So there's a lot of instability up at the top, so therefore it will affect the people at the bottom. That is just the way it is at the end of the day. Also, Landry Jones is out for the first 8 games of the season with a hamstring or a quad injury. I can't remember for sure what it was, but he is out for the first eight games of the season, putting a lot of pressure on Odell Beckham Jr. to perform. And facts show that Odell Beckham Jr. does not perform well underneath pressure. Think about this: he did great his first couple years in New York. Made that great one-handed catch versus the Dallas Cowboys. What did he do after that? When Odell was, the top receiver in the NFL, he didn't perform. He punched the kicking tee and about knocked himself out, and then he proposed to it because he is like a head case. He's Antonio Brown like that season. And Baker Mayfield has a problem. His problem is that he is too much like Brett Favre without the people around him. So, Baker Mayfield would be great on the Dallas Cowboys. He would be great with the Kansas City Chiefs. He would be great with your Green Bay Packers even, because he does have that gunslinger mentality. But the fact that he doesn't have the coaching staff around him or the players around him to make those plays for him when he does throw an interception or throws an 80-yard touchdown pass, They're going to be really, really high or really, really low. There's no patting on the back saying, hey, man, you did a good job, no matter win or lose. Baker Mayfield is putting way too much pressure on himself this season, and I think he is going to crumble. Like I think this is the year that you see Baker Mayfield's last start. Come like week 12, he is no longer going to be a starter in Cleveland because Cleveland finds new ways to lose year in and year out, and this year's going to be no different whatsoever. Not at all. Sell Baker Mayfield 100%.
Yeah, and with what you're saying though is, Baker Mayfield's putting a lot of pressure on himself. He's also writing a lot of checks that Chubb is going to have to cash, because using everything that you said, and I agree with you. But what does that put pressure on? That doesn't necessarily put a lot of pressure on Odell, because like you said, Odell doesn't handle pressure well. It puts a lot of pressure on the running game, because the only way that Odell's ever going to get open is if you can establish a running game. So you got a lot of pressure on Chubb. Baker's got to learn how to work with that. And that's why I think Stefanski comes in, because he was able to do that with Dalvin Cook in Minnesota. So if he can do that, now, and I'm not saying that Baker's smart enough to do that. I'm saying that Stefanski is going to have to be smart enough to coach him how to do that. You got to learn how to do the play action. You got to learn how to do dump off passes, get rid of the ball when you have to. You got to know where your safety out is when Chubb is sitting in the flat, and you got to just dump the ball off to him, completion or not. Sometimes incomplete passes aren't the worst thing because you're opening up the field. So if Baker Mayfield can learn how to do that, then I think he might be worth something. But with what you're saying and everything, I agree with you. You're putting a lot of pressure on very few guys. And with the way Baker Mayfield's shooting off at the lip, he's putting a lot of pressure on Chubb, because I can't think of a quarterback who's a Hall of Fame quarterback who didn't have a running back to rely upon.
True.
They all do. Whether they get the credit for it or not, they all do.
And I want to add some points to like what you said. Yes, Baker Mayfield has the ability to learn how to dump off, learn to know where the safety's at. But do you know when that learning takes place? Training camp and preseason games. What does the NFL not have this season? Training camp and preseason games. You cannot learn this in the middle of the NFL season. You are worried about preparing for the Pittsburgh Steelers, preparing for the Cincinnati Bengals. Look at the first 2 weeks that the Cleveland Browns have. They go to the league MVP and Lamar Jackson, the Baltimore Ravens, week 1, and then they play highly hyped Joe Burrow and the Cincinnati Bengals. If they start 0-2, Baker Mayfield is going to crumble. There is no picking him up after that point, and the learning aspect out the window 100%. Who did they pick up in the offseason? Was it Case Keenum as his backup, if I'm not mistaken? Case Keenum is going to start for the Cleveland Browns sometime this season, 100%. So let's jump over to the chat here. Mike Reeves is chiming in and poking fun at me, saying that the Browns have no quote. I said the Browns have no people around him, and like I said, all they have is Chubb and like OBJ, and then he says Hooper, Landry, Chubb, Hunt, and Nochuk. Hooper, I don't think is going to be very good in Cleveland. I believe he was the Atlanta Falcons before that, if I'm not mistaken. Yep. And I don't think he's a top 5 tight end in the league. Landry Jones is out. Chubb is like good. Hunt, he was better in Kansas City. I don't think the Browns utilize him the way he should be. And of course they have OBJ, which I think is highly overrated since he left his 3rd year in the NFL. What are your thoughts about players around him?
Yeah, and I like how Mike mentioned all those names. The problem with, that's why I just said running back, because you're not going to have Chubb and Hunt on the field at the same time. It's one or the other.
Right.
Njoku or Cooper, it's going to be one or the other. I don't see them playing 2 tight ends at the same time. So really what you're looking at is how good is your tight end position, how good is your running back position, and how deep is your wide receiver position. And right now, with all the names that Mike just listed off, with all the names that Buck that you're listing off, they're all average. If this, like you said, if this was OBJ from 4 years ago, yeah, I'd give him a lot more credit. But OBJ has spent a lot more time gelling up his blonde hair than he is catching one-handed balls.
Right.
Now, like you said, Landry Jones is hurt. Hooper and Njoku, one of them can play, one can't. You're not going to both on the field. And same thing with Hunt and Chubb. Hunt's best days, I think, are behind him. Chubb's best days might be in front of him, but is he a three-down back? Or what situations is he in? I don't think so. So I really see them having a lot of skill players that are very average, and Baker Mayfield is going to have to pick up the slack, and everything that you're saying tells me he probably isn't good enough to do that this year. And to be honest with you, I don't think that Cleveland is going to go dipping into the well of another head coach. I think that they'd rather start shopping for another quarterback if this doesn't work out, and Stefanski is going to get a longer leash than Baker will.
Right, and like just to add to your point here, like the Browns, like all those names on paper sound great because all those names, right? Just like the Dallas Cowboys, all those names on paper sound great. The Dallas Cowboys went 8-8 last season. I could see the Cleveland Browns going 8-8 again. The Cleveland Browns are a habitual average team. They find new ways to lose, new ways to hurt themselves. So you are buying Baker Mayfield this season. I am selling Baker Mayfield this season. So moving on here, Kyler Murray. This is his first time ever that he has not had to worry about baseball in the offseason. So far this offseason, Greg, he has put on 20 pounds of size and still kept his speed. Are you betting on Kyler Murray this season? Is he a chance to win the MVP?
Absolutely, and I'm not just saying that. And right now, I guarantee you, Mike Reeves is laughing because I just picked him up in our fantasy league.
That's a great pickup, man.
Actually, one of the things I do for fantasy is I try to get, and I end up doing this every year. I end up getting Hopkins with my first pick, and I took Devontae Adams with my second pick, and then Kyler Murray was still available, so I got Kyler Murray. So I got that quarterback wide receiver combo, and I think the reason why Kyler Murray is going to be throughout the season, he's going to be in the top 5 in the MVP talk. I think he'll end up in the top 3 for MVP talk, and it depends how the team does around him. If they can make it, if they can go 10-6, 11-5, I think he could be the MVP of the league. And I think it's because of everything you said. This is the time when he can focus on football. He put on football weight. He got, he's no longer, second baseman, shortstop weight.
Right.
He's got on quarterback weight. And he's playing a quarterback position, and he has Hopkins around him. He's got other weapons around him. He's got a genius for a head coach when it comes to offensive players and quarterbacks. So I think that unlike Baker Mayfield, where the deck is kind of being stacked against him just being from Cleveland, I think that right now Kyler Murray has every trick up his sleeve. I think he's got every card in his back pocket. And I think that if there's anyone in this league that is set up for success, it's Kyler Murray.
Yeah, and I 100% agree with you, but I want to backtrack a little bit to Baker Mayfield a tad bit. Mike Reeves comes at us in the chat here, says that Landry had 1,100 yards and 6 TDs last season. He is a scrub, though, right? I didn't say Landry Jones was a scrub whatsoever. I'm saying Landry Jones is injured, and he is going to miss the first 8 to 9 weeks of the season, and that is going to affect Baker Mayfield highly. Because when you lose your number one threat on the outside and you're relying on Odell Beckham Jr. and when the spotlight is on Odell, he crumbles. It has been shown. His first 3 years in the league, great, because he wasn't the guy. After that, he was the guy and he crumbled. That's why he's no longer in New York and in Cleveland. So I'm not saying Landry is a scrub. I'm not saying that Odell Beckham Jr. is a scrub. I just think he is a little overrated. He is not a number one threat. So Mike Reeves, that is let me clarify that a little bit and jump back over to the Kyler Murray thing here. It is hard to focus on two sports, especially in college, especially in the NFL. Kyler Murray would have had a very great Major League Baseball career from what I saw of his highlights and whatnot. I didn't watch him in Oklahoma and play baseball whatsoever because college baseball really isn't my thing until the World Series, and it's pretty intriguing, but I digress on that. When you get a full off season to focus on one thing, like your mind is like, hey, I am football 100%. And then you have a veteran like Larry Fitzgerald in your corner. Then you bring in a top 5 receiver into your corner and in Hopkins. There is a reason why I picked Arizona Cardinals as my sleeper team this year. There is a reason why I said draft Kyler Murray in fantasy. He is going to put up big numbers in the air. He is going to put up many, many touchdowns. He is going to rush. Kyler Murray is going to be your MVP this season if Patrick Mahomes doesn't do it because of all the weapons that he has around him. He has 2 number 1 receivers on his team. The third receiver, his name always slips my mind, but he is a very solid number 2 on every other team in the NFL. He is a number 3 check down receiver. Yeah, I mean, there should be no reason why Kyler Murray is not top 3 quarterback this season. None at all whatsoever. Any closing thoughts on that, Greg?
Yeah, you keep talking about 2 sport athletes, and there's. I'm 44 years old, and throughout my sporting life watching sports, there's only been 2 athletes that have successfully been able to do 2 sports at one time. Those Bo Jackson and Deion Sanders. The one thing that they do not have in common with Kyler Murray, they weren't a quarterback.
Right.
There's a different amount of preparation that goes into being a quarterback versus being a running back or a defensive back. Defensive back is either cover that zone or cover that guy. Running back is I'm going to hand you the ball, you run that hole until you get tackled. Quarterback takes twice as much time in preparation in the film room, in the classroom, as it does on the field. So you cannot play quarterback and baseball. You might be able to play running back or defensive back in baseball, but you can't play quarterback in baseball. So now that he's dedicated himself, I agree with you 100% that this year is the year that's set up for Kyler Murray to be Lamar Jackson 2.0, to be, Patrick Mahomes on that level, to be, the Deshaun Watson, these guys who are the new evolution of quarterbacks, which is the ability to run, but also the smarts and the ability to throw the ball too. They're not a running quarterback like Michael Vick. They're not a pocket passer like Peyton Manning. They're a combination of the two. And this is the year I think that Kyler Murray, with, like you said, the weapons he has, he's got Kirk, he's got Fitzgerald, and he's got Hop, and he's got running backs. He's got all these players around him, and he's got a smart offensive coordinator / head coach that are going to put him in positions to win. So if there's a year, this is the year for him.
Yeah, and many people are a big fans of that sophomore slump. He is entering his second year, but most quarterbacks entering this sophomore slump doesn't have the talent that he has around him. I want to challenge one of your thoughts, though, here. You said Kyler Murray is much like Lamar Jackson, and I think Kyler Murray is better than Lamar Jackson because of his arm skills. Kyler Murray has a crazy accurate arm, crazy powerful arm, plus he still has speed and quickness to get out of the pocket. The only thing that Kyler Murray doesn't have is height on his side. I think he's like 5'9" or 5'10". So he is consistently having to roll out of the pocket to make things happen. That is the only downside for Kyler Murray whatsoever. Much better than Lamar Jackson, I think.
No, I agree with you. I completely agree with you that it is that he does have the ability, but it's going to take this year, kind of like last year was Lamar Jackson's coming out party. This is Kyler Murray's chance to, like you said, show that he does have these skills, but he does have the ability to run. But I do agree with you that he does have the ability to be even better.
All right, guys, we are hitting the 2-minute warning mark here.
That'll bring us to the 2-minute warning
On the Mike and Mike Man Hour. As always, I want to thank Greg for coming on to the show. Greg, thank you for filling the shoes of Mike LeBlanc tonight. Definitely a pleasure talking to you 100%, guys. But join the Mike and Mike Man Hour, guys, every Sunday through Thursday, 10 p.m. East Coast time, right here on Facebook or the YouTube channel. And if you missed any part of the show whatsoever, we're on iTunes, Spotify, and iHeartRadio as well. And also the show is replayed on rtsportsnetwork.com, noon edition, East Coast time, Monday through Friday. Greg, thank you for joining us. Guys, go ahead and check out the Green Bay Greg page as well as Twist This Week in Sports Talk on Facebook. Greg, have a great night, brother.
I appreciate it. Thanks a lot.
Yep. Later, Bill.
Later.